Good morning. Welcome to your card of the day for Saturday the 5th or Sunday the 6th of April, depending what side of the date line you're on. Today's card of the day is She of the Lotus. So, She of the Lotus. Oops, gosh. Speaking with my little iPad here. So, keywords for She of the Lotus. Shadow work. Addressing dissonance. Seeing downfalls or those things we consider as our weaknesses as the flip side of superpowers. Loving yourself back into wholeness. The beautiful lotus that grows from murky waters. A lotus only grows in the mud. Disempowering triggers and bringing light into your dark corners. So what this beautiful card has come to say to us today is that when we cast away parts of ourselves, we lose more than we realize. Often, what we call weakness actually carries hidden strengths. And that strength, when unbalanced, can become our burden. Denying these parts of ourselves leave us feeling unanchored, adrift, like something important, something vital is missing. But when we gather up what we've discarded, those parts of ourselves that we've felt we didn't like, we didn't want to deal with, when we gather those up with tenderness, truthfulness, and an open heart, because it always comes back to the heart, we begin to see the shadow not as something to fear, but as something to understand. I found that when I sat gently with these rejected parts of myself and traced them back through the pain and the story that I carried around them, they started to soften. And what once felt heavy started to dissolve. And what I thought were flaws turned out to be protectors that I just misunderstood. Self-love, I've come to learn, is a powerful catalyst. It helps us transform our triggers into invitation. Each one is a chance to reclaim a forgotten piece of ourselves. That's each trigger is a chance to reclaim a forgotten piece of yourself. It's a good thing to remember. So when you're triggered in that moment, it's like, what is this forgotten part of myself that's asking for me to love it? Because as these dense places start to melt away, it gives space for the light to come in. And with the light comes love. And shadow work isn't a one-time healing. It's a daily practice, a daily devotion. When we can meet each and every moment with awareness, with presence, like Eckhart Tolle says, this is now moment. We don't give the old wounds a chance to take root again. Instead, we expand. We expand into love, we expand into truth, and we expand, believe it or not, we expand into freedom. So to be a true light bringer is not to avoid the shadows and the dark, but to illuminate it gently, lovingly, and bravely. so that nothing within you is left unloved. So this card is reminding us today to turn inward gently and take note. Are there old patterns still quietly steering the wheel? Parts of yourself that you've tucked away, thinking they were too much or not enough? Maybe it's time to open that cupboard and pull all these parts of yourself out and brush them off. Shine the light on them and welcome them back home. Because our shadows aren't wrong. Our triggers aren't wrong. They're just tender. And often what we call a trigger is really, it's just a signal showing us where our light is wanting to return. And that sensitivity, it's sacred, it's holy, it points to places that are still waiting for our love. The path to wholeness begins with acceptance, not just of our polished parts, the parts of ourselves that we're happy to show on social media, but the messy, aching, hidden parts as well. When we soften towards those places within us that are wrapped in our shame, our fear, or our guilt, and we bring them into the warmth of our compassion and self-love, they begin to unwind, they begin to resolve, and they begin to come home. And in that reunion, something beautiful happens. Our true gifts that have long been buried beneath the rubble and in the shadows start to rise again. And this is how we remember who we really are. She of the lotus, seeing those messy parts of ourselves, the triggers, the pain, the shame, and the parts that we want to hide away. Seeing them as parts of ourselves that are asking to be loved. And we've touched on this subject before, so today a card came up. And it's really interesting because yesterday now, I had a conversation with someone about, they asked me, how can I deal with my anger? And I said, recognize it and ask, what is this showing me? What am I being shown? What's asking to be healed? And give it that space. Create that space for it to move into and have the light shone on. I'm not quite sure what the correct word there is. Have the light illuminate it, let's put it that way. And I don't have to worry about my own grammar policing because I'm pretty bad at that myself. Have the light illuminate it and accept it as a part of who you are. And I can remember a few years ago saying to my daughter, I just want to find my Zen. And now, when I look at my life, I realize that my life is pretty much Zen. Most of the time, there's little ripples and things that kind of upset it a bit. But I don't get triggered as much as I used to. I see things that used to trigger me and I go, no, isn't that interesting? I would have been triggered by that. Or I see things that I see other people being triggered by something and I can see why they're being triggered. And I just they're just opportunities to heal. And as we work through them and we allow them to heal, we illuminate them, we give them that space to be seen, to be loved. They stop being a problem. They stop being triggers. They stop winding us up. We stop getting angry about things. And we can start to accept ourselves and love ourselves, warts and all. Because you are an absolutely beautiful divine being. And so you are love. You are worthy of love. Regardless of what may have happened in the past, what you may have done in the past. In this very now moment, you are worthy of love. And it starts with giving it to yourself and accepting yourself. And once you can truly say, I'm actually really okay with who I am, it's a really cool place to be when you haven't always been there. And I haven't always been here. I was not okay with who I am, who I was for a very long time. Years. But learning to be okay with you, who you are. All of your messy, wonderful humanness. Your beautiful, messy humanness. The lotus only blooms in the mud. So from that mud, from that what we think of as filth, right? From the manure, the mud and the muck and the thick stinking mud, rises this most beautiful, most sacred flower, the lotus. And that's who you are. She or he of the lotus. May you have a wonderful, blessed day. And may you truly know that you are worthy and you are lovable. I'll see you tomorrow morning.